Thermobaric OSM-118-147-382 knew very little about the universe. The bit that it knew involved a manufacturing plant, a Terra-class starship, and the knowledge that it would be a proud day when it was fired towards the enemies of Zardonia. This is why OSM-118-147-382 was surprised to suddenly find itself hurtling at the hull of a Zardonian spacecraft. OSM-118-147-382 knew better than to ask why. It wasn't supposed to ask why. It was supposed to explode. And it did. Chapter 13. Kevin ran blindly, as fast as he could, which was not very fast at all. He was terrified of accidentally discharging one of the half-dozen weapons he was cradling. Moments earlier, his mind had been occupied with what he thought was a flawless plan. The same plan had worked for Cuchulainn in his one-man fight against the armies of Queen Maeve. It would be simple enough. Force a confrontation in one of the access corridors, and the aliens would have no choice but to fight single file. He would destroy them one by one, and unlike zero tolerance, there would be no time limit. Step 1 of the plan involved moving crates into the corridor to shield behind. Step 2 of the plan involved placing 6 handheld weapons behind the crates, 1 to use and 5 as backup. Step 3 of the plan involved firing off some shots to force a confrontation. Step 3 was where things fell apart. It turns out that alien weapons are hard to aim. What Kevin intended to do was send a volley of shots echoing down the corridor. What he actually did was randomly discharge a series of explosives. Most bounced off the walls and detonated a little further back. It was the one that bounced into the armory to put an end to his plan. Turrup! The ship rattled with the blast. Rat-ta-ta-ta-ta! Turrup! Kevin didn't think. He just moved. Across a large corridor and into a smaller gangway. The chain reaction of explosions that he had set in motion intensified. Alarm sounded and blocked his ability to think. Heavy footsteps clattered all around. They focused his mind. The aliens were coming. "Where are you going, mate?" came the voice. It barely registered in Kevin's brain as he careened around another corner. He was concentrating on shuffle running along the hollow passage. His mind turned thoughts. No plan survives contact with the enemy. But there was no contact. I know. I loop around them, take them by surprise. It was on that thought he stopped. The corridor had ended at a hexagonal window. Beyond it was a sea of stars. Fuck it! He gently set the weapons on the ground. Stupid aliens! They haven't a clue how to design a spaceship. He had nowhere left to run. Behind him the ship rattled and groaned as explosions shook the superstructure. Kevin tapped his foot against the floor and looked at the pile of weapons. And that was how he got the idea. One by one, he carefully placed 5 weapons against the window. He lifted a panel on the floor to test the cavity below for size. "You okay, mate?" The voice made him jump. "Fucking hell, Billy! Never sneak up on someone armed with alien weapons." "I didn't sneak up." "What are you doing?" "Building a bomb." Billy the Rat gestured back along the corridor. "Are you sure there's not enough explosions already?" "Very sure. When I fire at these weapons, they're going to blow out that window and suck the creatures into space." "We're all on the one ship together, yeah?" "Where's the rest of your mates?" Kevin carefully lowered the remaining weapon into the cavity below the floor and climbed into the hole. "Get down here if you want to survive the blast." "I'm not sure I trust you." "Why don't we just go find the others?" "Because in a few seconds this place is going to blow sky high." "You are sky high." "No, the acid wore off ages ago. Right now, I'm saving the world." "You say so." "How about we see what your mates are up to first, though, yeah?" Billy walked to the window and grabbed an armful of weapons. What the fuck are you at? I'm going to give these back to who they belong to. Are you mental, Billy? Put them where I had them. Kevin scrambles out onto the floor. Billy had turned back up the corridor. I'm going to dump these in a pile, yeah? Half the problem with those aliens is they don't talk to each other. If I leave these out like that, then they'll have no choice but talk. What are you on about, Billy? The aliens won't know whose is whose, so they'll have to chat, yeah? And what's that going to do? Chill them out. Put those fucking things back before you get yourself vaporised. Billy continued along the corridor, swinging the weapons as he walked. All around him, alarms sounded. Kevin raised his weapon and pointed it. I can't let you kill yourself, Billy. Bring back the weapons or I'm going to fire. That doesn't make any sense, mate. You're freaking out. Take a look out that window. You know what they say about the stars? Kevin turned to look, momentarily distracted. What's that? He swung back from the view, but Billy was gone. Kevin glanced back at the window again. There was only one weapon leaning against it. Can a single exploding alien rifle generate enough of a blast to blow out a hexagonal porthole in a starship? The question danced inside Kevin's head. He looked at the window. He looked back towards the ship. He looked at the weapon he was holding, and he looked at the window again. The answer was just not obvious. The more he thought about it, the more he realised that there was only one person who could let him know for sure. He also knew for certain that there was no way in hell he would ever ask that smug bastard for advice. Not even if the arrogant prick walked up right now carrying a barometer and a Haynes manual for starships. It would never happen. McLaughlin's probably sitting in the van clapping himself on the back for clearing zero tolerance and telling anyone who listens how deadly he is. The float. Nobody cares about that. I'm saving the world on board an actual starship with actual alien weapons. And I'm not even making a big deal about it. Terrup! Another explosion rocked the ship and brought Kevin's thoughts back up to outer space. The clattering footsteps were louder now. He could hear alien voices in between them. They were making the same boulder being dragged ashore sound he'd heard earlier. It was like surf bursting over an unseen reef. He climbed back into the cavity below the floor and slid the panel over him, until only his eyes and the muzzle of the weapon were left exposed. He steadied himself. It's just me, an alien rifle, a bunch of cables, oblivion, and the floor panel now. The footsteps got really close and stopped. The voices that came with them were lower now, more like pebbles than boulders. Those fuckers! They spotted the weapon! Then they went silent. Typical. I bet if Jerry McLaughlin was about to explode an alien weapon out of a hexagonal porthole, those creatures would just stroll on by. Kevin took aim at the weapon next to the window. It's always up to me to do things the hard way. He knew the creatures were close. Kevin cursed Billy and thanked physics. He cursed Billy for walking away with the best part of his chance to cause an explosion. He thanked physics for making it very difficult for a squad of heavily armed extraterrestrials to sneak along a hollow gangway unnoticed. Then he squeezed the trigger. Trap! The shot missed completely. It bounced off a wall and landed close back to where it came from. Kevin dropped the panel and flattened himself as best he could. The round detonated, and the window was left intact. What happened next was a rare moment of Zardonian incompetence. Even if any of the witnesses had survived, they would have died shortly afterwards, because the punishment for that incompetence would have been death. Rattled by an enemy whose tactics were proving impossible to predict, they all fired at once, in the direction of the explosion, where the rounds found nothing and continued towards the window of dock and hatch L361, and caused it to stop being a window. Every last fighter in the squad was instantly sucked out through the place where the window had been, which may have been for the best. Kevin braced himself, but his brain was giving up. It had never been his intention to lie prone in the service duct of a spaceship. The ship shuddered and creaked as its systems worked to repressurize the deck. "Tear up!" The alien ammunition continued detonating, but the alarm stopped. And that was when it hit him. It was unmistakable, wafting its way along the duct. The smell of human shite. Where there's shite, there's life. Where there's life, there's hope. Where there's hope, there's a man destroying a starship. Kevin's thoughts hardened into action again. Crawl. Move. Do. I'm human. I will not go gently into the night. I'll follow the shite. He began moving slowly along the duct. And then after that, I'll save the world.